Greetings, listeners, and welcome to The Spiritual Experience, a show where we share stories of life, love, and redemption for all of humanity on Earth. So sit back and enjoy. Try to identify with the speakers and not compare. Don't forget to subscribe on all podcast platforms. I'm your host, Jay Lewis, and here we go. Yo, what's up, everybody? We're back. Spiritual Experience. Eyes closed. Mind open. Here we are. What a week, huh? Oh my God, it's been crazy. It's been freaking crazy. A lot of stuff going on in the news. A lot of stuff going on in life. Trying to stay positive. I'm not really trying to stay positive. I'm just staying positive. You know, I had a couple of hiccups with work, whatever. Yeah. I know you guys in the beginning of the week, you heard my boy Mike's story. That was a great story. I have a couple of other people lined up so we can get some more interviews in here, which is nice. And we're just trying to reach out and touch the people. You know, everybody's all up in arms. Everybody's getting crazy right now. You know, what's in the news? Shit that people don't want to talk about. Right? They're talking about taking a woman's right away to choose. The abortion stuff. You know, it's real. It's really real. And what's funny to me is that, I don't like to be, I try to be a little bit more reactionary in the sense of, okay, all right, number one, I don't know everything. That's number one. And I can only go by, news that I hear or whatever. And I try and just, speak from my mind, my heart, experience, whatever. But okay, so, you got number one, I don't know why people have not, politicians, whatever, or, all the people who got voted in, why they haven't been preparing. What have they been doing? We knew when Orange Boy was up there, he said, listen, the people that he appoints, dude, they're all pro-life people, straight up. They're all pro-life people. And then when he appoints people like Kavanaugh, who had, I think it was a sexual assault allegation or whatever, or he assaulted somebody, dude, when this shows how crazy and corrupt this country is that none of that mattered. None of that mattered. It's just it was a formality. Somebody can ask him questions that he don't want to answer, or he'll be like, whatever. And that's it. And I guess if you're on the other side of the coin, they're going to say oh, well, anybody can accuse anybody of anything. And then you have people, come on, man. Really? How much conspiracy shit do we have to tolerate before we're just bro, all of them are animals and they're all full of shit. All of them. I think the only one that doesn't really have dirt on his name as far as that kind of stuff goes was Obama. And it was hard enough him getting elected just because he was black. Imagine if he was out there hoeing or just grabbing people or doing whatever. It would have been over, It really would have been over. But either way, yeah, so all these people, bro, we knew who all these people were, man. We knew. So so what's the information? The information is one of them draws up a draft about something he's going to argue. And that argument is to make federal, I guess, what do they call it? Like make abortions illegal federally, and then all the states will have to decide, right? Because right now it's legal everywhere, but the states, they kind of just make them illegal if, because they can put all the different restrictions on when you can get one, how you can get, like all this other stuff, and, it's a touchy subject, I guess. I don't know. I guess people, they're just scared to say what they really feel. I'm not really scared of that kind of stuff. I know it makes me uncomfortable because then I have to be honest with myself about all of this kind of stuff, Look, I have one kid, and up until now, I probably should have had a bunch more. And if I really went down the list, I could name the times that I had to go to the clinic, and none of them were. None of it was a good trip, none of it, and and it's sad, but that's at the end of the day, I know, for me personally, what the responsibility is of raising a kid, and when I guess maybe I wasn't ready for that responsibility, or maybe I was just so scared from the first time that I had a baby that I was like, dude, I cannot make any more babies. I can't. It took everything to take care of the one that I had, and then I met my woman, and then she comes with two. We're like, whatever. I'm like, bro, you kidding me? That was like a stipulation for me as I was dating, when I was growing up. Not growing up, but like once I got into my 30s or whatever, and I was like, dude, I don't want to have any more kids. I just don't. I spent so much of my time in my life taking care of my son. It's a tough choice. It's a tough choice. And here's the thing, like as a man, you're at the woman's mercy straight up, right? You have unprotected sex, and what happens? That's how babies are made, right? Two people got to get involved. That's how babies are made. And when that happens, I can tell you, like, for me, it was panic every time. It was freaking panic every time somebody got pregnant. I was like, or sometimes it would just be like, what are those, like the Plan Bs? When I was growing up, there wasn't really Plan Bs, So there's Plan Bs, there's all kind of stuff. And, I support wholeheartedly, what do they call that stuff? Like, I don't know. The stuff that's women's sexual wellness. I support that 100%. Like I support Planned Parenthood like 100%. They don't only do abortions there, but that's what these people want to tell you. They want to tell you, oh, they only do abortions. That's all they do. And that's fucking bullshit. There's sexual wellness. There's all kind of stuff going on over there, So I support that. And it's okay if you don't. It's okay if you're super pro-life, and, and that's okay too. It doesn't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? It's your life. It's your, if there's a pregnancy, again, you're at the woman's mercy, and, the male's perspective is like, fuck, do I want to have a kid with this girl? Do I even know what that entails? Am I willing to marry this person? All of those questions, up until now, my life has been no. Like, there's only one person who I've been willing to marry, and that's the one I'm with now. That's why she's the only one to ever get a ring. Ever. So, yeah. So I'm looking all over my feed, and it's just like, people, they're up in arms. Number one, none of this is like set in stone or anything yet. So that's important to know, that none of that is happening. This is a draft of something And if you didn't think that they were going to bring this shit up, you are sorely mistaken. So they're bringing it up now, and you know, I never met a woman that aborted a baby and they felt good about it. Like, not once. So there are people out there who are just like, no, man, abortion is murder, and you're killing babies and whatever. And you know, there's not a mushroom growing in there. It's a baby, you know. Now, I'm not talking about, you know, a child that as it develops, all of a sudden all these things are going wrong. And the child is going to have a, whatever, I don't know, a difficult life, you know, like they're going to be severely handicapped and all these other things. And, you know, it's a tough situation to be in. And I've never been in that situation, and I wouldn't know what to do in that situation. I personally, I wouldn't, you know, I'd live with my own mental and emotional handicaps. I cannot imagine me knowing that and saying, okay, well, you know what? I'm still going to bring this baby here and we're just going to deal with it and that's it. Like, dude, who knows what it's like to be somebody that's like suffering like that? You know, it's easy for us to say because we're on the outside and we're just using like very far away approaches of, well, it's not happening to me, so I have a big opinion. And that's like bullshit. You know, if it's not happening to me, I don't really have an opinion. You know, I don't have an opinion. You know, it's their own personal thing. For whatever reason why, you know, a woman doesn't want to bring a baby to term. You know, I'm not going to make pretend it's not a baby, though. That I'm not going to make pretend. Because guess what? If it wasn't a baby, then the choice would be easy. Right? Then it wouldn't be such a difficult choice. But we know deep inside that there's a baby that's growing. Now, you want to say, hey, does babies start at conception? Does it, you know, you can argue that, whatever. But we know that it's, it's not easy because it's real and it's not fake. So you can just, you know, I can just identify with both things that, yes, it's funny. I heard that Bill Burr said, they said, look, I believe in the woman's right to choose 100%, but let's just not pretend that, you know, we're not killing babies. And that's the truth. And that's why it's so hard. And that's why women who make that choice, they deserve fucking love and they deserve empathy and they deserve, you know, it's the media that says, oh, this is what they do. They're so fucking, it's so crazy. It actually makes me sick, you know, thinking about the manipulation because they don't want us to love each other and to be together. So they'll paint it as two things, like, right? Like one is either they'll be like, wow, well, look at this mom. She's having all these babies that she can't afford, right? And, well, I guess that's a pro-life mama, right? She's having all these babies that she can't afford. And they're mad about that, you know? She's on welfare. She's getting public assistance. And we have to use all these safety nets and pay extra taxes. It's like, here's the conservative side. I'm not going to say the Republican side because not every Republican believes this kind of stuff. I am a Republican, if you haven't learned that already, because I don't trust the people in Washington with my money. Yeah, they spend it like shit. What's the word? Frivolously? Yeah. They don't know what they're doing, so I don't want to pay high taxes. I'll do everything I can to keep every dollar that I can, you know, and that's why I'm a Republican. It's because of that, you know, and I don't believe in any of this other bullshit. So, but anyway, the conservatives who are not Republicans, the conservatives, because here's the thing, real Republican values is that they don't want the government in your life. Small government, small regulation, right? But what are they doing? They're trying to regulate somebody else's property. They're saying, no, you cannot have an abortion, and we want you to have all these babies, but we just want them to be unkept and not taken care of because we don't want to pay for them to take care of, but we want to make sure that you have them, which doesn't even make any sense, right? It's like if they really want to, if they were really pro-life, there would be, I see all this stuff on, I'm sorry, I'm taking deep breaths. I see all this stuff on Facebook and like I repost or whatever, retweet all the stuff that I agree with. And a lot of it I do. And a lot of it has to do with just being like a very realist, which is, hey man, look, if you're really pro-life, then you got to really invest a lot of money into childcare. How come women, they should get free medical whatever, or what is it? Maternity. They don't really get, they get maternity leave now, but this is my generation now. They're finally getting it. I think that back in the day, they get like fucking 2 weeks off. Women have gotten the brunt of this whole thing, like forever, Excuse me. Sorry about that. Yeah, I just had some wings. Shh. So, yeah, women, they've been like getting the brunt. So if I was really pro-life, I'd be like, okay, listen, I need to really invest, we as a country, we need to invest more in women's health, which means places like Planned Parenthood and all these other organizations that really help women who are in bad shape, because you want them to have the baby, right? They got to have the baby, and we got to help them take care of it. We got to help them take care. Listen, I know women have gotten pregnant with an IUD in them, 100%, or they've been on the pill. Nothing is fail-safe except for abstinence. That's the only way. Not even condoms, bro. Who's using those? Really, in this day and age? Who's using those? It was funny. I on sidebar, like, with the condom stuff. It's just like, I remember there was this girl who said, like, who was talking shit to other women who didn't want to take the vaccine. Like, you don't want to take the vaccine, but all of you women have put a dirty penis in your mouth at one point or another. And now all of a sudden you're like this hygiene fucking queen. Fuck out of here, bro. So, but either way, going back to the real thing, is that like, yeah, so we really need to revamp the healthcare system and the educational system. Somebody's got to teach all these kids and all this other stuff. And again, I'm just talking about unwanted pregnancy. I'm not talking about like if there's incestual shit going on. You're going to make a girl, who was assaulted by her family member, her dad, or her brother, or whatever. You're going to make her have that baby. That's like fucking crazy, man. That's like crazy. There's not even enough adoption clinics or like, come on, man. These are little humans. That's why the decision is so tough. And that's why it's not black or white. It's not. And it's not my decision to make. So it's like, the conservatives will tell you that. Which is crazy because, again, they want to take away somebody's rights, which is not, again, like I said, is not a Republican value. I don't subscribe to that. It's not what does my dad say? Not my circus, not my monkey, right? I'm trying to give credit where credit's due. I don't want you to guys think that I come up with all this stuff on my own. Who I am in this day is a reflection of all of you who are in my life. So either way, so that's what's going on. It's fucking crazy. And yeah, I believe in a woman's right to choose, Now the other side is like, oh, they're gonna come for, they're coming, they're gonna tell women what to do, my body, my rules, this, that, and the third, right? That's their thing. Meanwhile, the threat is there, but the DEFCON level is very low. It's very low because, like, what's going to happen? If they pass this thing, which would take forever to pass, then each state is going to regulate its own, and then people will be coming to states where you can get it versus states where you can't. And it's going to be dangerous. And that's a fucked up thing. It's a fucked up thing. Yeah, it's going to be dangerous. So there's that, right? So you have that going on. And it's like a lot of fear-mongering. It's a lot of fear-mongering. I don't think it should be more fear than just like respect. Like we need to respect that these people and respect the system. The system is not for us. The system is against us. They don't give anybody anything. All they do is just take things away. And I can just tell you from my own experience, if you're with somebody and either they lose a child or you decide to terminate a pregnancy, it is never the same. They are never the same. Yeah. A woman is never the same after that. I've never seen it. But they'll make you believe like these people are using it as a form of birth control. And I've never met a conscious, meaning like awake, not like woke, but like just a normal woman that has ever accused another woman of doing that. There always has to be reasons why they make that choice. And them reasons have nothing to do with me. At all. Right? Because the men are on the hook if the baby comes. If the baby comes, the woman can... It's funny. It's like the rights are kind of like switched, right? If a woman decides to have a baby and the guy doesn't want to have the baby, the guy's rights are like very limited. I don't know. I don't even know if he could sign his rights away where he can sign away his rights, but he still has to pay. So if you're going to pay, you might as well be in the kid's life instead of just writing a check. And is that the kind of energy you want to put out there? Like, it's very hard for me to respect a man who doesn't take care of his kids. Like, which means I do not do that. I don't respect them. Now, if you are estranged from them or like there's some kind of rift or whatever, that's fine. And I get it because apparently kids have to be their own people too. Times have changed. But you still got to take care of them, man. You got to pay what you owe. You got to handle your business at least till they're 18. I used to threaten my son all the time when he was growing up. And I never not loved him. I always loved that boy. He's the best ever. But I used to tell him, because he lived with me. He didn't live with his mom. He lived with me. And I used to say to him, like, my friend, if you don't get it together, after 18, I don't have to take care of you, bro. I don't know where you're going to live. Maybe you go back, live with your mom or whatever. I don't know what you're going to do, but you're not going to do it here. I don't have to. I'm on the hook till you're 18. And I meant that with every sincere bone in my body. Not trying to force compliance, but trying to just be real with him. That was the deal. I wanted to be real with him, And even in my debauchery, dude, I've had honest conversations with my son. And this is not to disrespect him or his mom in any way. I'm just telling the truth, the story, when my son's mom got pregnant, I didn't want to have my son. I didn't. I wasn't like, woohoo, I'm going to make a baby. Like, no way. And I was too young to really handle it effectively. And I ran away from the responsibility of hanging around. I was 15 years old. I went, and in my mind, I thought we were going to terminate this pregnancy. I gathered up a few bucks, and then a few weeks later or whatever, a month or two later, like we never had any conversations that I can sit here and say I remember and hold her accountable to. But I was under the influence that my son was not supposed to be here. And I gathered up a few bucks and I left them, not a few bucks, what was it, $250, $300 at that time to terminate a pregnancy. This is 1995, 94, 95. And, I put it in an envelope, left it in a mailbox. And I didn't tell my parents they were pregnant. I didn't tell anybody. I mean, no, I didn't tell anybody who could have helped. I told everybody who couldn't have helped. Somehow I told my friends. I think I was scared. But at that time, I was also full-blown alcoholic and drug addict. So my recollection is fuzzy. People are telling me that I told them, and yeah, either way. So and I put it in a drawer and I left it alone. And then 8 months later, whatever, because I remember the day she told me, she was like, I got to talk to you after school. I was like, oh my God. And I knew what it was right away. Even at that age, I said, I need to walk home, because she would come pick me up from junior high. I was in fucking junior high school, and yeah, I walked home. And I remember she just wrote a letter P on a piece of paper. Now, her homegirl, whatever. This is not disparaging. Yeah. So her homegirl, Janae, already had a baby with this kid, JJ, R.I.P. JJ. He's no longer with us, too. So Janae already had a baby. She was like the first one to set it off. And I guess my baby mom and the rest of them were just like, yeah, the floodgates are open. I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. But I remember that even in all of that stuff, that I didn't want to be a dad. And guess what happened? So then I get a phone call like months and months later talking about she's on her way to the hospital. Her older brother called and, called my house. And I didn't know. And that was the day I told my parents. I can't even imagine what it's like for them. Right? I'm over here already out of control. And then I'm just like, hey, that was so-and-so. And they said they're having a baby. They're on the way to, I didn't even go to the hospital. I didn't. I just stayed in my house. And yeah, there was a fire burning and I hid like a scared little boy because I was a scared little boy. And my parents were not like, oh, you need to go to the hospital. They didn't say anything. Not that they weren't apathetic. I think they were just in shock. And I was the type of kid that basically, my parents have PTSD. Like and they were not. Listen, nobody's fucking got sprinkles on the cupcake in my brood. All right, we're all a little bit off. We're all a little moldy bread. But, yeah, dude, they were damaged, man. They couldn't. It was that kind of thing. Like a baby would come out of nowhere. The police would come out of nowhere. The hospital would come out of nowhere. Fights would come out of nowhere. Phone calls. That was the type of kid I was. So anyway, long story short, baby's here. I go see him a couple days later. He's in the house. I look at him. I knew right away. I was like, oh, that's my son. And I remember her dad, Bobby. He was the best. R.I.P. Bobby Peoples, the man. I love him. I always loved him. He was the best. He's great. Dude, that guy was a fucking... Let me tell you something about my son's grandfather. And if my son's listening, maybe he already knows this story. Bobby was like... He was like an OG, like a man's man, He just was. Like, when you're a little kid, mind you, this is my best friend's father, I told you already how the baby came, So, it's my best friend's father. And, like, Bobby would, he worked his ass off. This motherfucker, dude, he was a hardworking, I believe he was from the South. I'm going to say, no, he might have been Ohio. I don't know if he was from Ohio or from the South. Either way, he wasn't from New York. And he was a hardworking black gentleman. He was a gentleman. He worked hard and he lived hard. He did. He really did. And this is just the way that I knew him. You know, his kids know him, and maybe his ex-wives know him in a different light. But I knew him as straight up and down, don't mess around, right? So Bobby would we'd be in the kitchen. And so he worked I think he worked at Letterly, which was like a factory or something. And then he would fix cars in the yard. He would do that. You know, he was I don't know, he never fixed anything for me. His son Larry one time put rims on my Acura. He put them on backwards or something. I don't know what he did. But Larry's been always pretty unreliable. So there's that. Anyway, yeah. So we'd be there, and Bobby would be fixing people's cars in the yard. He'll come in the house, and there'd be a nice plate of food. There's always mad food at my son's mom's house. It was like very, what do they call it? Like comfort food, like Southern food. Mac and cheese, collard greens, fried chicken, baked chicken, everything. The whole shit, right? That's how they were, you know, because my son's grandmother was white. And I don't know if she really cooked, but Marnie used to cook up a fucking storm. And Bobby's sister, I forgot her name, heavyset lady, also a wonderful woman. Yeah, she lived in the houses, in those white apartments behind the park. Either way, they would cook their fucking ass off. Bobby would come inside, and he'd have like a half a pint of whatever, right? Because he'd be drinking. He would, and smoking cigarettes, and fixing the cars. And he would, like, let's say the greens are on one part of the plate. He would eat the greens, take a pull from his cigarette, and put it out on the fucking plate where the greens was at, and then spin the plate and finish eating his food and go out there and work. You know? I always, stuff like that, I'm like, dude, this guy's he's like a stunt man. You know? He's like a cowboy. Unbelievable guy. Anyway, so Bobby tells me when the baby comes, he's like, look, you know, that baby doesn't need any money. You know, and my son's mom, my baby mom's parents, they made more money than my parents at the time. But it's just that my parents lived in a different side of town than them, you know. But shit, Bobby had a Corvette. My dad would have killed for that Corvette. And before the Corvette, he had an RX-7. Oh, that was when the RX-7 was it. And then he had the Burgundy Vet, which was unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. Yeah, my dad had hand-me-down fucking cars and whatever. But my dad worked hard, too. He did. That's the one thing I give him. Either way, so Bobby's like, dude, that baby doesn't need money from your parents, doesn't need anything. That baby just needs love. That's what that baby needs. And I was like so relieved to hear him say that, because my parents didn't say anything to me. They just didn't. They made pretend, or they just swept it under the rug. And the little chirping that was going on behind the scenes, I was not privy to. And that was that, you know, that was that. They didn't see my son till he was like maybe 5, you know. And that's with a kid making a kid that I didn't want. And that is the whole world to me. You know, thank God that I have him. You know, I had to take custody of him because I just felt that I did. You know, I loved him so much. And I still do. He is like, my son is everything to me. And the truth is that it's very possible that, you know, if I got my way, who knows how the whole story would have turned out, right? A lot of the things that people admire about me are because of him. And, you know, so to think that after that experience, I followed through on some of those choices later on throughout my life, you know, those are things that I have to live with. You know, they are. And I knew the responsibility because I already had one kid. And I was like, I can't, you know. I'm not, mentally and emotionally ready to take on another life. Because kids are like, they're so much work. And you have to be selfless completely. And that's very hard for somebody like me, especially being selfless to kids and they kick you in the balls all the time. It's almost like they grind your heart down to a nub. When they're little, you think it's all going to go according to plan. Then as they get older, they become non-compliant and you're still stuck there. It's almost like being in jail. Like, dude, it's like being in jail, and your bunkie is like a piece of shit that you fucking hate, that leaves things everywhere, that shits all over you, and you the one that has to clean up. Who the hell wants to live like that? You know what I'm saying? So it was like, thank God I had him when I was young, because as I got older, I was like, dude, I am not starting from zero again. I'm sending this one out, on the track, and that's it. One and done. Now the two kids that I have now, I'm in love with both of them all the way to the moon. But I deal with some of the defiance now. So, yeah, I'm saying that to say that, like, you never know how it's going to turn out. You just never do. But again, regardless, it wasn't my right to tell any of these women or any of the whatever. It wasn't my right to tell them that, bro, we can't have this baby. And not we. When I say you can't, like, it's not, you got to pay what you owe. So if any of them decided that they wanted to keep a baby like my baby moms did, I would have had to man up, because I couldn't not do that. I couldn't not do that. So women, they're the ones that they got a lot on their plate, man. They're just fighting now for validation and equality. And it's so bizarre to me that, like, when I hear mostly men trying to stifle women's ability to catch up, it's always out of fear. And then in my mind, I say to myself, like, yo, is that how you look at your mom? Your mama? Is that how you look at your mama? Your aunt? Your cousins? Your girl cousins? Do you talk to them the same way that you're standing up in Congress and banging down the fucking gavel? Is that how you talk to your mom? Like, that's so crazy to me. It's so crazy. It's abusive. It's, and I've done my own share of abuses, mentally, emotionally. At the time, it's not being abusive. It's just me being a prick and me being selfish and me being self-centered. But, yeah. Then I look back and say, wow, that was not nice. That was abuse. I talk to them in a way that I'm ashamed of and that I feel guilty about. And guess what? Every one of them has gotten an apology. Yep. And like a heartfelt, sincere one. I'm like, yo, listen, I was all the way wrong on how I behaved in these situations. And I should have been more considerate, but I was not, I wasn't capable. And I'm not saying that it's right. I'm saying I'm all the way wrong. You don't even have to forgive me, but I'm saying that I know and that you were right. And I'm sorry, And then some of those scars, they kind of bubble up a little bit. So, these people on the left, They're fucking crazy, bro. They just want, they could have spent this whole time preparing. Nobody prepared for anything. You know, they just wait and then they just react. None of them have a plan. You know, they don't have a plan because they don't give a shit. They just want to keep their jobs. They don't care about the babies. They don't care about any of that stuff. I'm going to read this thing, man. I forgot. I mean, it's a good thing. It kind of sums up what I was thinking. And I don't want to, like, misquote it, number one, or make it like it was my own thing. It wasn't. This is a quote from Layla Cohen. This almost sounds like a pseudo name, like a Puerto Rican Jew. Layla Cohen. Anyway, if it was about babies, we'd have excellent and free universal maternal care. You wouldn't be charged a cent to give birth, no matter how complicated your delivery was. If it was about babies, we'd have months and months of paternal leave for everyone. If it was about babies, we'd have free lactation consultants, free diapers, free formula. If it was about babies, we'd have free and excellent child care from newborns on. If it was about babies, we'd have universal preschool and pre-K and guaranteed after-school placements. But that's not obviously what it's about. And that's what's sad. Because that's the truth. If it's about babies, that's what it is. You know, you're going to punish. You know, it's almost like they want to punish you because you made a mistake. And you're already punishing yourself. You're already doing it. You're already punishing yourself. And they want to punish you even more. It's so fucking crazy. It's like bullying. You know? And that's how I feel about that stuff. And it's been really major in the news. There's a bunch of other shit that's going on. You know? It's like... Yeah. The other thing was... that was in the same vein as this. Hold on. I'm going to put you guys on hold for a second because I don't want to miss quote any of this shit because it really means a lot to me. So I'm going to put you on hold. I'll come back with the right name of this thing. Okay, hang on. Okay, guys, we're back. Thanks again. You know, yeah, it's not that I'm like a super fact-checky guy, but I really try to be transparent when I disseminate information that I get from other places, number one. And number two, yeah, I like to try and know a little bit about what I'm talking about because it helps me inform my own decisions. So this is what I wanted to speak about. It's about this drug, this one thing, because it all ties in together with the whole shit. So, but let's give a little bit of color, some background. I learned about a lot of my stuff through, excuse me, man, Gatorade Zero. Yeah, I do like independent news and not like whatever, just not mainstream news. And it doesn't mean that the information isn't right. It means that they do their homework. Like I said, I used to listen to a lot on The Hill, which is incredible. Listen to Crystal and Sagar, which is where I learned about this kind of thing, called Breaking Points. If you want to be a regular human being and not be sucked in by all the way the right, all the way the left, I highly suggest you subscribe to Breaking Points. Yeah, they put out shows it's incredible. You know, it's really the only truth, partly the only truth that's out there. Anyway, so, you know, so remember when, you know, the whole ivermectin thing was going on, right? They were like, oh my God, Joe Rogan, ivermectin, he's fucking taking horse pills, and they're laughing at him. Who is it? Don Lemon with his dumbass, his uneducated self. What's that other guy? Trevor Noah. Bro, Trevor Noah, man. It's like he's going further and further off the deep end, man. We really miss Jon Stewart. I don't know how that show is still on television or who's watching it, I know I am not watching it. But I watched it all the time with Jon Stewart. Anyway, right? So they're all flaming Joe because he took ivermectin for COVID with a whole cocktail of other things, right? Now, I don't want to get into the whole COVID thing or whatever, but the point is the ivermectin, they flamed him for it. And then it was like all over Twitter, and they wanted to get him thrown off of social media. And they were trying to ban him because it's like giving out disinformation, right? Because he took ivermectin along with the rest of this cocktail that literally, he went from, having COVID to being negative in 4 days. But they don't want to focus on that. They're like, no, ivermectin. This is how fucking crazy these lefties are. It's so infuriating when you watch and you actually pay attention, right? So, yeah, they're going on and they're like, oh, if you have disinformation, they try to get him thrown off Spotify, whatever. So I'm going to attempt to explain this properly. Okay, so there's this drug. It's called misoprostol, right? It's a drug that helps medically induce abortions. It's used in whatever, and it's totally fine. And like I said, I believe in a woman's right to choose. And it's relatively easy to get from a vet because guess what? It's also used to treat ulcers in horses, right? It's used to treat ulcers in horses. Now, nobody's up in arms that women are taking horse pills to abort babies, right? Nobody's saying any of that kind of stuff, right? But this is where it gets fucking crazy. And this is where maybe you want to slap yourself in your face with yourself. There's an arm of Vice Media called Motherboard. So Vice Media, it's like, they used to be cool and now they're not. Right? So what they did is they basically put out a how-to formula for you to make your own abortion pill at home using this stuff with some other shit. I'm not obviously going to look it up and go into the whole chemistry, right? And that's blasted everywhere. Twitter, everywhere. Vice Media, right? Nobody bats an eye. Nobody. Because of the threat to Roe v. Wade. They just let that one fly. That they're going to have people who will read that article or read that that formula, whatever you want to call it, read that stuff, and then say, you know what? I'm not even going to tell my parents. I'm just going to make my own pill in the basement. And I'm going to take it. And that's out there for the public. Like what do they call, like Anarchist Cookbook or something like that or whatever. I forgot what Sagar called it. But it's like, dude, this is the world that we live in. The hypocrisy. Somebody is giving step-by-step instruction on how to make an abortion pill using medicine that treats ulcers in horses. Right? And, yeah. But meanwhile, Joe took ivermectin, the dewormer, and he took it, as prescribed by a doctor. So it wasn't the same thing that the horse get, wasn't paste or anything like that. Along with all the other things, what he said, monoclonal antibodies. He had Z-Pack. He had, threw the kitchen sink at it, and he got rid of it in 4 days. Meanwhile, he was the talk of the town for weeks on end. And then on this side of the street, look at what they're feeding. Telling kids like, listen, we're Vice News. We're on your side. You can just go and order this shit online and make it yourself. I thought that was ridiculous, bro. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, man. This is where we are. This is where we are. So where does that leave the rest of us, right? We have to keep an eye out for the enemy. The enemy is the snake in the grass. And the snake is these crazy liberals and these super conservatives. Not Republicans and Democrats. They are the fringes. Most Republicans and most Democrats are like very, the ones that I know that are like come up to me or that we speak about this kind of stuff, we can actually have like a real conversation and be like, bro, you know, abortion it's a fucked up, you know, it's not an easy topic, you know, but it ain't mine. It ain't mine to decide. It's up to the women, you know. That's it. You know, that's it. I played in the dirt, and here we are. You know, so all I can say is that, like, you know, keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. You know, try to stay away from Fox News and what's the other, MSNBC and all these. I'm so happy CNN Plus like failed or whatever that was. I don't know what that was. I'm sad because my homegirl Barry, she was like a producer and she went and tried to do that. And she got coaxed away from her real production job to go try and do that. And it was basically like a startup that failed. And it was stupid. You know, they're all going crazy on Elon for trying to buy Twitter. Meanwhile, Bezos owns the Washington Post. That guy's an animal. And I read the thing that as soon as Elon cut his deal to buy Twitter, the My Pillow guy, he turned his Twitter back on only to get banned within like 10 minutes. Which is crazy. He should be allowed. Everybody should be allowed. We should be able to make all of our own decisions. That's the truth. And you get your information however you get it, as long as you're not hurting anybody. You know, I don't really have a lot more to say on that stuff except for stay tuned. We're only getting better. We're doing it together. That's an amazing thing. The last thing that I was thinking about talking about, I actually took some notes because I didn't want to miss anything because I had so much on my brain, and my brain was on fire. Is you know, they have these the unions at Starbucks. This is how, you know, Starbucks is, you know, it's such a strange brand, right? It's like from wherever, right? In my mind, it's from like, you know, Seattle or something, like one of those like oh, Starbucks, and then now it's this big huge corporation, and people are starting to unionize, right? And they don't want anybody to be in a union. Personally, I don't mind unions. You know, I don't mind. You know, I can see both sides. I can see, look, I don't have enough employees for them to be in a union, but I have a lot of my friends that are union guys, iron workers, firefighters, city workers, everything, union. I'm a big believer in that. My brother-in-law, he's a delegate for the doormen in the city. They need a union too. Bro, you need to protect yourself from some of these animals like Starbucks, where they start offering better incentive, higher pay, and better benefits to all their employees company-wide as long as you're not in the union. So everybody else, finally, the union fights for some good shit. They get something. Then Starbucks like, oh, you want to get that? We'll give even more to all the other people, which wouldn't have gotten anything if the union didn't hold their feet to the fire to get what they wanted to get. It's the same thing happened over there in Amazon on Staten Island. They had 2 factories or 2 whatever. I'm going to call them factories, even though they're warehouses. I don't know the deal. I'm sorry. But they had 2 of them. One of them unionized with this, I think it was like a Spanish kid. It's unbelievable. They thought he was like a fucking zero. And this kid, he's going to the White House to meet, of all people, freaking Kamala Harris, who is like a fucking zero. Like, you know what she is to me? And if you're offended, I'm sorry. Right? You know what she is to me, bro? She's like the freaking bottle rocket that you put in the grass and that you light and it don't fly. And it doesn't even just goes, and then that's it. It doesn't even blow up. In your mind, you're like, yo, I'm going to have a good fucking time right now. I'm going to put this shit in, boom, boom, boom. And guess what? Nothing happens. That's who this guy's meeting with. Super union Joe Biden doesn't want to meet with this guy. Come on, bro. Come on, you're sending her? Please. She's like a placeholder. You know what she is? She's like the spoon that is in the setup at fucking Carmine's when you sit down and you have a meal and they give you all the forks and all the spoons. She's that one spoon that you don't use. It's there. I don't know what it's for, but in case you need it, you know. And it sucks that she's, you know, she's going to be going there. The first African-American vice president. It's a joke. They're all lucky that the big homie, Michelle Obama's not running. She would mop them all. She would straight up mop them all. Nobody can hold a candle to that lady. She's smart. She's calculated. She has poise. She's an incredible speaker. People love her. She would crush it. Nobody would stand a chance. Donald Trump, nobody. What is he going to say to her? He could say nothing. He could talk shit about her husband, but there's nothing he can say to her and still whatever, you know, pinky of dignity that he has left to you, you won't have it if he says anything. But they're not going to let her run because she's too good. You know, she's way too good. She would annihilate them all. So here we are. We're stuck with these bozos that are feeding us this insanity. And Bezos has the Washington Post. I honestly trust Elon with Twitter more than him with the Post. That's why I don't read the Washington Post. I don't read any of their articles. None of that shit. You know. He's the owner. I like independent stuff that's not attached to anything. That's why if you listen to Crystal and Sagar, what's the other guy? Kyle Kalinske. He's really good. Oh, come on, Matt Taibbi. Hello, Matt Taibbi. You want to hear some real stuff? That's where you go. They're not attached to any corporations. They can say or do whatever they want. And they're smart people. Smarter than me. In a lot of those ways. Or they do all the digging that I don't have time to do, but they're also very smart and people I admire. And that's where I put my dollars. I put my dollars there. You know, I subscribe to the stuff. I pay for the stuff. And that's it. Anyway. Hope this wasn't too heavy for you guys. Hope it was enlightening. I hope you learned something about me, about yourself, or whatever. Stay tuned. Spiritual experience. We're rocketing into the fourth dimension. Eventually, I just also got a notice that Facebook is shutting down their podcast pages, which is crazy because they just started it less than a quarter ago, and they're already shutting it down. I know a lot of you listen on Facebook, so you're going to have to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever else. I'll keep trying to share links on those pages, but eventually you're not even going to be able to listen on Facebook, which is fucking whack. Zuckerberg, like, he chimped out, you know. There's that other, he chimped out. He's just like, whatever. Stupid. I don't know. Maybe somebody got to him. I saw this funny thing, and I'll end with this, is that somebody said that Zuckerberg's wax figure for the Madame Tussauds museum actually looks more like a human than he does because he looks like a robot. All right. I love you guys. Peace. Okay, everybody. We'd like to thank you for joining us on the Spiritual Experience. Please don't forget to like and subscribe on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google, Pandora, everywhere. And please find us on Facebook where you can become part of our family. We'll see you around.